The Galactic Academy was the largest school in the Orion Arm. It was a place where young minds from hundreds of alien species learned about science, technology, and the hidden rules of the universe. For the first time in history, one human had been invited. His name was Elias Ward. He stepped out of the shuttle onto the floating platform of the academy. Alien students stared at him with strange eyes, some glowing red, some blue, some shifting like liquid fire. Almost all of them whispered the same thing. Human. The blind creature. The one who cannot see infrared. Elias tried to ignore them, but their voices echoed around him. He knew why they laughed. In the galaxy, almost every intelligent species could see infrared light wavelengths longer than red. They used it for reading heat signatures, tracking movement, even looking through walls. Humans couldn't see any of that. To aliens, humans were almost half blind. But Elias didn't come here to impress anyone. He came to learn. He walked toward the academy gates, but a tall alien blocked his path. The creature was a Valari, long arms, silver skin, and glowing orange eyes shaped like diamonds. The Valari smirked. Careful, human. You might walk into a wall. You cannot see what is in front of you. Other students laughed. Elias kept his calm. I can see enough. The alien leaned close. Not here. Not in the real galaxy. Elias stepped around him without responding. He had heard worse. Humans were used to being looked down on by other species. Humanity was new to the galactic community, far behind in technology, biology, and special senses. But Elias did not come to compete with aliens. He came to prove humans could learn just as fast as anyone. The first class. Elias entered the Vision Sciences Hall. It was a massive circular room filled with holograms, floating screens, and glowing panels. Students took their seats around a central platform where the instructor waited. The instructor was a tall Saren, a species known for their superior sight. They had 6 eyes arranged in a pattern like a star. Each eye could see a different part of the light spectrum. The Saren instructor scanned the room and paused when he saw Elias. Ah, the human. All eyes turned toward him. The instructor smiled in a cold, sharp way. In this academy, we study the full range of galactic vision. Most species can see from ultraviolet down to deep infrared. Only one species in this room sees the smallest range of light. His 6 eyes focused on Elias. The humans. Laughter filled the room. Elias felt his face heat up, but he stayed silent. The instructor continued, Today we test your natural vision abilities. This is routine for all new students. He activated a giant holographic sphere. Lights flashed inside, colors Elias had never seen before, along with waves of glowing heat that aliens reacted to instantly. Most aliens raised their hands. I see ultraviolet grid. I see heat trails. I see gamma signatures. Elias saw nothing like that. The instructor pointed at him. And you, human? What do you see? Elias swallowed. Just normal light. The room exploded in laughter. A MRAC student said loudly, How does your species even survive? Another added, Do humans hunt by sound? Like animals? A third shouted, Maybe he sees only darkness. The instructor lifted a hand, but he was smiling. Settle down. Humans simply have limited eyes. Let us continue. A strange moment. The next part of the demonstration began. The sphere changed. The colors faded. The light dimmed. Only a soft shimmer remained, like a tiny wave moving inside the sphere. All aliens frowned. I do not detect anything. My heat vision shows nothing. My ultraviolet spectrum is empty. The instructor tapped his screens. His 6 eyes blinked rapidly. This is strange. The system is showing a faint pattern, but I do not see it. The whole class became confused. Only Elias felt something different. He saw a glow, a small, gentle, shifting glow like a floating mist of color. It was not red, blue, yellow, or anything he knew. It was something completely new. A color that had no name. It shimmered softly, calling attention without sound. Elias raised his hand. Everyone stared. The instructor frowned. Yes, human? Elias pointed at the sphere. There's something there. Silence fell instantly. The instructor leaned closer. Describe it. Elias took a breath. It is like a soft wave. Like smoke made of light. It changes shape. It's glowing. The aliens exchanged confused looks. A student whispered, Impossible. Humans cannot see more than us. Another said, Maybe he is lying. The instructor checked the readouts again. His voice grew quiet. There is a faint emission. But only at extremely rare wavelengths no species here can detect. He turned to Elias slowly. And you are seeing it? Elias nodded. The room went completely silent. The instructor's expression turned serious for the first time. Human, your eyes should not be able to see that. No known species sees that wavelength. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. Something was not normal. Something was changing. And Elias had no idea what it meant. Elias did not sleep that night. The strange glow he saw in class kept replaying in his mind. He tried to tell himself it was a mistake, maybe a trick of the light, maybe stress, maybe the academy air, something simple. But every time he closed his eyes, the glow appeared again, soft, silent, shifting like a living color. A color no alien could see. A color Elias shouldn't be able to see either. Morning came too quickly. He dressed in his academy uniform and stepped outside his room. The hallway was silent except for distant hums of alien machinery. As he walked to class, groups of alien students stopped talking when they saw him. Some stared. Some whispered. Some looked afraid. Elias kept walking, pretending not to notice. A strange invitation. When he entered the Vision Sciences Hall, the instructor was waiting for him. Elias Ward, the Siren called out, "Stay after class today." Elias nodded quietly. The other students smirked. To them, staying after class meant punishment. But Elias felt something else, unease. The second vision test. Class began like normal. The instructor displayed light, heat, and ultraviolet patterns. Aliens easily identified every signal. Elias, as usual, could not detect any special wavelengths. But then the instructor dimmed the lights and activated the holographic sphere again. The room turned completely dark. Only one thing glowed. The mysterious color. Elias gasped softly. It was even brighter today, almost pulsing. The instructor turned toward the alien students. "Does anyone see anything?" Every alien responded. "No. Nothing. Empty." The instructor looked at Elias. "And you?" Elias swallowed. "Yes. It's there again." The instructor's eyes narrowed. "Every one of the 6. Describe it again, in detail." Elias stared into the sphere. "It looks alive," he whispered. "It moves like water, or smoke. And it's warm. I can feel it, not just see it." The instructor stiffened. The entire class stared. One alien whispered to another, "He feels light?" "Impossible." Another said, "Humans are dangerous. Their biology is changing." A few students leaned away from Elias. The instructor turned off the hologram. Class ended early without explanation. When the other students left, the instructor gestured. "Human, follow me." The hidden laboratory. Elias followed the Siren through a long hallway. At the end was a door he had never seen before, dark, metal with warning signs in alien languages. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside was a lab filled with scanners, biochambers, sensory machines, glowing containers, and strange delicate tools. 3 other alien scientists waited inside. All looked serious. All looked worried. The instructor spoke. "Elias Ward. What happened in class yesterday was not a simple curiosity. It was a scientific anomaly." The scientist beside him added. "No species in the academy can see the wavelength you detected. Including us." Elias tried to steady his voice. "So what does that mean?" The Siren instructor looked directly at him. "It means human eyes should not be able to do what you did." The vision scanner. They pointed to a chair surrounded by a ring of sensors. "Sit," the instructor ordered. Elias sat. Machines unfolded around his head. A curved screen lowered in front of him. Soft lights flickered. "Do not move," a scientist said. The test began. Waves of light passed in front of Elias. Visible light, ultraviolet, infrared. Aliens watched screens showing how his eyes reacted. The usual results were expected. No infrared. No ultraviolet. No thermal sight. Limited range vision. But then something changed. A strange frequency activated. The machine made a warning chime. Lights blinked yellow. Elias saw the glow, bright, colorful, impossible. The scientists panicked. "It's the same emission. Record it. Record everything." "How is he doing this without receptors?" The instructor leaned close to his screen. "He is seeing wavelengths far outside known biology. This should not be possible." Elias felt heat behind his eyes. A soft vibration. Like something was waking up inside him. He gasped. The machine overloaded. The lights around him popped and died. Smoke rose from the scanner. One scientist shouted, "Shut it down. Shut it down." The machine powered off with a crack. Elias breathed hard. His heart raced. What happened to me?" The instructor folded his arms. You saw something that does not exist. Elias looked confused. But I saw it clearly. That is the problem, the instructor said. No species in this galaxy has the ability to see that wavelength. You should not see it. No one should. Another scientist added. It is not part of normal light. It is from outside the known spectrum. Elias stared at them. So what does that mean for me? Fear in the room. The instructor didn't answer. But Elias saw their eyes. They were afraid of him. Of what he might become. Of what humans might become. One scientist whispered to the instructor. We must keep this quiet. If the council learns a human sees beyond the spectrum, they will react badly. The instructor nodded. Agreed. This stays between us. Then he looked at Elias. You will tell no one about what you saw. Not students. Not humans. Not anyone. Elias hesitated. Why? The instructor stepped closer. Because Elias Ward, the last species that saw this wavelength vanished from the galaxy. The room fell silent. Elias's heart froze. What do you mean, vanished? The instructor answered in a low voice. No records. No traces. No survivors. They disappeared the moment they discovered this same color. Elias felt the air leave his lungs. A vanished species? A color only they could see? And now, him? His voice shook. What species are you talking about? The three alien scientists exchanged nervous looks. Finally, the instructor answered. They were called the Vorax. Elias had never heard the name before. The instructor continued, speaking slowly, like every word was heavy. They lived more than 10,000 years ago. Extremely advanced. More advanced than even our oldest civilizations. But one detail made them truly unique. A scientist stepped forward and finished the sentence. They perceived a wavelength outside the electromagnetic spectrum. A color no other species could detect. Elias's stomach tightened. Exactly what he was seeing. What happened to them? He asked. The aliens stared at him for several seconds before the instructor finally spoke. They disappeared. Entire planets empty. Cities untouched. Technology still working. But the Vorax themselves, gone. Vanished without a sign. Elias swallowed hard. And you think this color had something to do with it? The scientist nodded slowly. We believe the ability to see that wavelength awakened something. Something they could not control. A dangerous ability. The instructor studied Elias with all six of his eyes. You must understand, human, this is not simply a new color. It is a doorway. A signal. Something unknown. Elias frowned. Then why show me that hologram in class at all? The instructor hesitated. For the first time he looked unsure. We found that frequency recently. A faint echo. It should have been harmless. Only a curiosity. But now, he gestured toward Elias. You are reacting exactly like the Vorax did in their final years. Elias felt a chill crawl across his skin. What reaction? A gradual awakening of new senses. New mental activity. New perception. The Vorax changed rapidly after they discovered that wavelength. Their eyes evolved first. Elias remembered the warm vibration behind his eyes during the test. Like something was waking up. A scientist noted something on a data pad. This cannot be coincidence. Humans have always been unpredictable biologically, but this is unprecedented. Another added. If the council finds out, they will remove him from the academy. Possibly isolate humans completely. Elias looked up sharply. Isolate us? For what? For becoming something the galaxy does not understand. A sudden warning. A loud alarm rang through the lab. All four aliens froze. A holographic alert flashed across the wall. Unauthorized frequency detected. Source, human subject. Elias's heart pounded. The instructor rushed to a console and scanned the readings. No, this is not possible. The scientist beside him whispered. He is emitting the wavelength now. Without equipment. Elias took a step back. I'm what? The instructor shouted. Stay calm, human. But Elias already felt the sensation growing again behind his eyes, an invisible pressure, warm and electric. Like something expanding inside his head. A soft glow formed around him. The same impossible color. The aliens recoiled in fear. Turn off the detectors. Shield this room. We cannot let this leak outside. Elias stumbled, gripping the edge of a table. What's happening to me? The glow pulsed again, stronger. A scientist leaned close to the instructor and whispered in terror. This is exactly how the Vorax started. Right before they disappeared. Breaking point. The glow stopped suddenly. Elias gasped for breath, feeling dizzy but stable. The light around him faded. The machines went silent. The alarm switched off. Everyone stood frozen. Finally, the instructor approached him very carefully, like Elias was a dangerous creature. Elias Ward, listen to me. This is not your fault. Humans are a young species. The galaxy does not yet understand your potential, or your limits. Elias felt anger rising. So what? You're saying humans might be the next Vorax? That we might disappear too? The instructor took a long breath. No. I'm saying something more frightening. He leaned closer. The Vorax disappeared not because they saw the color, but because something saw them back. Elias's blood ran cold. What does that mean? The instructor whispered. We believe the wavelength is not natural. It is a signal, a message, or a call. Elias felt his chest tighten. A call from who? The room fell deathly silent. A scientist finally answered. We do not know. But whatever answered the Vorax, erased them. A choice the Academy cannot know. The instructor straightened his posture. You will not attend regular class tomorrow. You will report only to this laboratory. Elias shook his head. So I'm a prisoner now? No, the instructor said. You are being protected. Another scientist added. And studied. Intensely. Elias glared. I don't want to be studied. You may not have a choice, the instructor replied. The council will discover the anomaly eventually. We must understand your ability before they react. Elias's voice cracked from anger and fear. So what do you want from me? The instructor answered quietly. We want to know why humans, out of all species, are awakening to a color connected to extinction. Elias clenched his fists. I didn't choose this. The instructor nodded. We know. But it has chosen you. Elias felt frozen. Something had awakened in him. Something that made scientists afraid. Something that wiped out an ancient species. And now it wanted him. Elias did not sleep that night. How could he? Every time he closed his eyes, that impossible color flickered behind his eyelids, soft, alive, and watching him like a second presence in his mind. He sat on the small academy bed, staring at the blank ceiling. They think the Vorax vanished because something answered them. His breath trembled. And now it's looking at me. The idea repeated in his head again and again. He tried to calm himself, tried convincing his mind it was all a mistake. Maybe the test overload caused his eyes to glitch. Maybe he hallucinated. But deep down Elias knew the truth. He had felt something look back. Like a distant intelligence touching his thoughts for only a second. A cold shiver crawled up his spine. Whatever it is, it's not friendly. The silent escort. Morning came but no normal academy routine followed. Instead, two tall alien guards in dark armor arrived at his door. Human Cadet Elias Ward, one said, you will come with us. Not a request. An order. Elias stood up slowly. Am I under arrest? No, the guard replied. Your presence is required for high-security testing. High-security. Another way of saying, you are dangerous and we don't trust you. As Elias walked through the empty corridors, he noticed something strange. Usually the academy halls were full of cadets, dozens of species moving between classes, chatting, laughing, arguing. But now, silence. Every hallway they entered was cleared. Every door sealed. Every window blacked out. Elias felt like a virus being transported. Even the guards avoided eye contact. The isolation chamber. They finally stopped at a large reinforced door that hummed with power. The guard pressed a panel. Human must enter alone. Elias hesitated, then stepped into the dark room. The door sealed behind him with a heavy metallic echo. Inside, dim lights flickered on. The chamber was circular, smooth and cold. Strange devices surrounded the edges. Scanners, hologram emitters, energy dampeners. At the center stood the instructor from yesterday, along with 3 new scientists wearing dark blue protective suits. The instructor nodded. Elias Ward. Thank you for coming. Elias tried to hide his fear. What is this place? A sensory isolation chamber, the instructor answered. Nothing can enter or escape, not sound, not light, not signals. Elias frowned. Why do I need to be locked inside something like this? One of the new scientists stepped forward. To keep the galaxy safe, he said. And to keep you alive. Elias's throat tightened. Alive? What does that mean? The instructor raised a device and showed him a hologram. It displayed a swirling pattern, a soft, pulsing spiral made from the same impossible color Elias saw during the test. This, the instructor said, was found during the final days of the Vorex. Elias stared at it. What is it? A response, the scientist whispered. Not from any species. Not from any machine. Something else. Elias felt his chest freeze. Something out there? Another scientist nodded. Something older than any civilization. Something that communicates using this wavelength. Elias swallowed painfully. And you think this thing contacted me? The instructor's eyes glowed faintly. We think it noticed you. The first test. A platform rose from the floor. On it sat a thin headband-like device with faint glowing nodes. Elias eyed it warily. What is that supposed to do? It will read the activity in your visual cortex, the instructor said, to see if the wavelength is still influencing you. So this is a brain scan? No, the instructor corrected quietly. It is a warning system. Elias stared. A warning? For what? The scientist answered. To detect if the unknown intelligence tries to look at you again. His knees almost gave out. You're telling me you expect it to come back? We don't know, the instructor admitted. Which is why we must be prepared. Elias took a slow, shaking breath. Fine. Let's get this over with. He put the headband on. The lights dimmed. Everything went silent. A gentle hum started. Elias closed his eyes. For a moment, nothing. Then, a spark. A faint warmth behind his eyes. A ripple of unfamiliar sensation. Elias gasped. It's happening? The instructor shouted. Increase monitor sensitivity. Machines whirred. Holograms flickered. The color appeared again, not in the air but in Elias's mind. A soft spiral. Slowly turning. And then, something changed. The spiral stopped turning. It aligned. It focused. The instructor's eyes widened. Oh no! A scientist shouted, shut it down. Shut it down. Elias clutched his head. It's looking at me? The color filled his vision completely. A presence pushed into his mind like an ocean wave. Cold. Non-human. Endless. And in a voice without sound, Elias felt a message. A whisper directly into his consciousness. UCUS. Elias screamed. Aftershock. The machines shut off. The chamber lights burst back on. Elias collapsed to the floor, gasping, shaking uncontrollably. The instructor rushed to him. Elias. What happened? Elias looked up slowly, eyes wide with terror. It spoke to me. All scientists froze. What did it say? Elias took a trembling breath. His answer was barely a whisper. It said, You see us. The scientist stepped back in horror. The instructor whispered, Then we are already too late. Elias sat with his back against the cold chamber wall, shaking so hard he could barely breathe. The impossible color was gone. The presence in his mind had vanished. But its message still echoed inside him like a whisper carved into his bones. UCUS. The instructor knelt beside him. Elias, listen carefully. Did it speak in your language? Elias nodded slowly. Yes. It wasn't a sound. It was inside my thoughts. The instructor stood up stiffly, fear spreading across his many-eyed face. That means it understands you. The scientist added. Or worse, it understands humans. Elias forced himself to his feet. Why is that worse? What does it want? Silence fell in the chamber. No scientist wanted to answer. Finally, the instructor spoke. We believe the Vorex did not vanish. We believe they were taken. Elias felt his heart stop for a beat. Taken? By what? By whatever contacted you. The impossible theory. They moved Elias to a secondary lab, this one filled with dark glass panels, shield generators, and old archived data. The instructor flicked his fingers and activated a hologram. A massive star map appeared, thousands of glowing points marking the galaxy. He highlighted several. These are the last known locations of the Vorex. Elias stepped closer. What happened in those regions? The instructor tapped another panel. All highlighted stars dimmed out. Entire sectors vanished from the hologram. Extinction events, the instructor said. Planets emptied. No survivors. No bodies. Elias frowned. But how can a species disappear without leaving a trace? A scientist finally answered the terrifying truth. We think they were pulled out of reality. Elias stared at him, speechless. That's impossible. The scientist shook his head. Only impossible if the intelligent force uses physical means. But if it exists outside our understanding, it may not follow our laws. Elias felt the room shrink around him. You're saying something outside the universe can reach inside and erase a species? The instructor whispered. Yes. And now it knows humans exist. A human ability no one expected. Another hologram appeared, scans of Elias's brain activity during the incident. The lines were wild, chaotic, burning with energy. A scientist pointed to the center of the image. This spike shouldn't be possible for any known brain. Even the Vorex never reached this level. Elias frowned. So, what does that mean? The scientist swallowed nervously. It means your species can do something even the Vorex could not. Elias's heart pounded. Like what? The instructor answered. You did not just see the signal. You responded to it. Elias blinked. I didn't respond. Yes, you did, the instructor said. When the presence contacted you, your brain generated a counter-signal. We detected it. A counter-signal? Yes, the instructor said softly. Your mind fought back. Elias stared at them in disbelief. So humans can resist it? We don't know yet, the scientist replied. But whatever reached for you, felt your resistance. Elias remembered the cold intelligence brushing against his thoughts. He remembered the moment he pushed back instinctively. Like something inside him woke up and refused to let the thing enter. He touched his temple. What if it comes again? The instructor breathed out slowly. It will. The council will come. A loud chime echoed through the lab. A message flashed on the wall. High Command notified. Council ship inbound. The scientist froze. The instructor cursed under his breath. No, we needed more time. Elias looked around. What's wrong with the council arriving? The instructor looked at him like he had asked the most dangerous question in the galaxy. The council does not tolerate anomalies. They fear anything they cannot control. A scientist added quietly. And the moment they learn what happened to you, they will remove you from existence. For safety. Elias stepped back. You're saying they'll kill me? The instructor lowered his head. They will call it containment. But yes. Elias's stomach turned. But you can't let them do that. We may not have a choice, the instructor said. Unless you show us what you saw. Elias froze. What do you mean? We need to understand the connection, the instructor said. You must try to recreate the color. On purpose. Elias shook his head violently. No, absolutely not. When I saw it, something touched my mind. I can't. You must, the instructor insisted. Because if you do not, the council will destroy you tonight. A risk with no return. The scientists spread out, activating machines, sensors, and protective barriers. The instructor placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. Listen. You are not a prisoner. You are our only chance to understand the danger. Elias laughed bitterly. Your only chance? What about my chance? The instructor stared directly at him. Human, if we do not learn how to block the presence, your entire species will vanish like the Vorex. Elias went silent. This was bigger than him. Bigger than the academy. Bigger than the galaxy. His voice was quiet. What do you need me to do? The instructor pointed to a platform. Sit there. Close your eyes. And try to see the color again. Elias took a deep breath. Saturday. Closed his eyes. Darkness. Then, a flicker. A pulse. A soft, warm glow. A whisper. Not from the aliens. Not from the machines. But from the impossible color rising inside his mind. You call US. Elias's eyes snapped open. It's coming back. The machine screamed with warnings. The lights dimmed. The impossible color spilled into the room. And the scientist realized a horrifying truth. This time it wasn't just looking at Elias. This time, it was entering the lab. The lab lights flickered violently as the impossible color spilled across the walls. Not projected. Not imagined. Real. It oozed like liquid light, bending the air, stretching shadows, distorting every shape in the room. The scientists panicked. Shut the barriers. Seal the chamber. It should not be able to manifest physically. But nothing worked. Machines shorted. Panels sparked. Holograms warped and collapsed. Elias sat frozen on the platform, unable to move. He felt pressure building in his head, like invisible hands pushing on his skull. The instructor shouted at him. Elias, break the connection. Elias squeezed his eyes shut. I'm trying. But the color pulsed again, stronger, deeper, alive. A cold voice whispered inside his mind, clearer than ever. We come. What the scientists feared most. A ripple formed at the center of the room. Not an object. Not a creature. A hole. like reality itself had been torn open by unseen fingers. The color swirled around it, forming a shape, a tall, thin silhouette shifting like smoke in liquid metal. The scientists backed away in terror. One whispered, "No physical mass, no defined shape, it's not from our dimension." Another stuttered, "This is what erased the Vorax." But Elias felt something different. He didn't feel fear. He felt recognition. Not from memory but from instinct. Whatever this thing was, it knew him. The silhouette twisted its featureless face toward Elias and leaned forward slightly as if examining him. The voice echoed inside his skull. "Your kind sees." Elias gasped. "My kind? Humans?" The color pulsed. "You are not like the others." The instructor yelled at Elias. "Don't speak to it. It uses communication to enter your mind." But Elias ignored him. He took a step forward. "What do you want from me?" The presence answered. "To know why you resist." Human instinct versus alien logic. Elias felt something strange inside himself, like a spark of bravery or anger awakening. "They said you erased the Vorax," Elias said. "Why? What did they do?" The silhouette's shape flickered. "They saw you and followed." "Followed?" Elias repeated. The presence continued, voice deep and emotionless. "They tried to come where they were not meant to go." The instructor whispered to the scientists. "It's guarding something. Something beyond our universe." Another added, "And humans have the same ability as the Vorax to see the path." The realization hit Elias like a punch. "You think humans will try to follow you too? You already try." The figures behind Elias looked at each other in shock. "What is it talking about?" a scientist asked. But the instructor understood. "Human curiosity," he said quietly. "Exploration. Instinct. The drive to push past limits." The presence moved closer to Elias. "You reach without fear. You look without permission. You survive what should break you." Elias felt the pressure in his head intensify. "Is that why you're here? To erase us?" The presence paused. "Not yet." The first threat. The color around the creature sharpened like blades. The instructor stepped forward, shielding Elias. "Stop. He is under our protection. You cannot take him." The presence turned toward the instructor. The air around the alien rippled, like gravity distorting. The instructor dropped to his knees, screaming, clutching his head. Elias shouted, "Stop. Leave him alone." The presence froze. It turned back to Elias. "You command without power." Elias stepped in front of the instructor. "I said stop." The presence tilted its head, curious. Elias felt heat rising in his skull, the same heat from the first test. Something inside his mind pushed back. A spark. Then a pulse. A wave of invisible energy burst from him. The color around the room rippled violently. The creature's shape flickered, like static breaking apart. The scientists gasped. "The human is interfering with its form. He's disrupting the connection. He's pushing it out." But Elias didn't understand how. He only knew one thing. He refused to let it hurt anyone else. The first human strike. Elias's voice shook, but he spoke clearly. "Leave. No. Or I'll push harder." The presence pulled back, its shape twisting. "Impossible." Elias felt anger rising in him, hot and alive. "No. Humans do impossible things all the time." Another pulse burst from him, stronger than before. The entire lab trembled. The creature staggered backward, its form dissolving around the edges. The room shook as the presence struggled to hold its shape. The scientists were speechless. One whispered, "He's fighting it. A human is fighting that." The presence hissed inside Elias's mind. "You are dangerous." Elias stared it down. "Good." The creature twisted like it was being pulled away, its voice finally cracking with something Elias had not heard before. "Fear. You should not exist." Elias stepped forward, fists clenched. Too late. He focused every ounce of strength, every instinct, every emotion, every spark of human defiance. A final wave blasted from him. The silhouette shattered. The tear in reality snapped shut, and the impossible color vanished from the room. Gone. Silence. Then, the instructor whispered with trembling breath. "Humans were never supposed to survive seeing them." A scientist added. But Elias did more than survive. He drove it away. Elias fell to his knees, exhausted. He whispered to himself, "What am I becoming?" The lab was silent. Machines sparked weakly. Shattered glass lay across the floor. The smell of burnt circuits filled the air. Elias knelt at the center, breathing hard, sweat dripping down his face. He had done the impossible. He had driven away something that wasn't from this universe, something that erased entire civilizations. The instructor slowly pushed himself up, shaking badly. "Elias," he whispered. "What you just did, no species has ever done before." A scientist stared at Elias like he was seeing a weapon made of flesh. "He fought it," the scientist said. "He pushed back what destroyed the Vorax. A human did that." Another scientist added. "Not even our strongest minds could resist that intelligence. But he forced it to retreat." Elias didn't feel proud. He felt scared, terrified. He lifted his hands and stared at them. "What is happening to me?" he whispered. "How can I even do something like that?" The instructor hesitated before answering. "We do not know. Human biology is unpredictable. You adapt fast, evolve faster. But this." He gestured at the destroyed lab. "This is beyond evolution." Elias closed his eyes. He could still feel a faint echo of the presence. Far away. Watching. Waiting. It wasn't gone. Not completely. The council arrives. A loud alarm rang, deep and cold. The entire building shook. The instructor's face went pale. "No, they came early." Elias stood quickly. "Who?" The instructor answered with dread in his voice. "The Galactic Council Enforcement Unit." The door to the lab exploded open. Dozens of armored council soldiers marched inside, tall and metallic, carrying weapons that hummed with dangerous energy. A council officer stepped forward, his armor gold-edged, his command voice cold and absolute. "All personnel step away from the human. Now." The instructor raised his hands. "Counselor, please, we can explain." "You will be silent," the officer snapped. "Move aside or be detained." The scientists obeyed slowly, fear overwhelming them. The officer pointed at Elias. "You, human. You are coming with us under charges of dimensional contamination." Elias felt his stomach twist. "Contamination? I didn't choose any of this." "That does not matter," the officer replied. "The safety of the galaxy comes first. You are too dangerous to remain free." Elias looked at the instructor helplessly. "You said you would protect me?" The instructor stepped forward. "I will. He is not dangerous. He resisted the entity. He saved us." The officer glared at him. "That is exactly why he must be contained. A species that can fight beings from outside reality is a threat. Humans are unpredictable. They must be controlled." Elias felt anger rising inside him. "We're not a threat. We're survivors." The officer lifted a small device. "You will kneel or we will force you." The energy in Elias's mind stirred, dangerous, glowing, alive. He clenched his fists. "No. The human choice." The lab lights flickered again. The officer tensed. "Is he activating the contamination energy?" "Restrain him." Soldiers stepped forward. Elias raised his voice, shaking but strong. "Stay back. I don't want to hurt anyone." The pressure inside his mind grew stronger, like something deep inside him wanted to defend him. But Elias fought it. He didn't want to become a monster. He didn't want to lose control. He only wanted one thing: freedom. The instructor suddenly stepped between Elias and the soldiers. "You will not take him." The officer aimed his weapon at the instructor's chest. "Move. Now." A scientist shouted. "The human is the only one who fought the entity. If you imprison him, you risk provoking it." The room fell silent. The officer hesitated just for a second. Elias saw his chance. He focused. Not to attack. Not to destroy. But to push everything away. A soft pulse spread from him, gentle, harmless, but overwhelming. Every weapon shut down. Lights dimmed. Communications died. Armor froze. Machines stopped. The soldiers staggered. The officer stared at Elias in disbelief. "You disabled our systems?" Elias stepped forward. "No. I just shut out your fear. The threat beyond the galaxy." The officer watched as his suit slowly rebooted. He spoke in a low, shaken voice. "What are humans becoming?" Elias answered simply. "Whatever we need to become." Before the officer could respond, every screen in the lab flickered. A message appeared. Not in any alien language. Not in human language. But in the impossible color. A single phrase. "We see you all." Every heart in the room froze. The instructor whispered. "It's not just watching Elias anymore. It's watching the whole academy." The officer looked at Elias with a mixture of fear and realization. "You didn't just attract it. You provoked it." Elias stared at the glowing message. No. It was coming anyway. He turned toward the officer. But now you have a choice. The officer narrowed his eyes. What choice? Elias pointed at the message. You can fight us, or you can fight that. Silence. Heavy. Terrifying. Then, slowly the officer lowered his weapon. What do you need, human? Elias breathed out. At last. Someone listened. The final truth. Elias stood tall, his voice steady. We need to prepare humanity. We need to prepare the galaxy. Because whatever that thing is. He looked at the message glowing in the impossible color. It's coming back. The lights flickered. The air grew cold. The message pulsed once more. Soon. Elias whispered. Humanity was never supposed to see you. He clenched his fists. But now we do. The color faded. The message vanished. Elias looked at the council officer, the scientists, and the terrified witnesses. And he said, Get ready. This was only the first contact.